past and present for you, meeting friends old and new. Streaming Wednesdays and Saturdays too, with founder members Paul and Sue. The smiles that we bring are a heritage thing. HDPP, keeping history alive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Where local memories survive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Film clips, photos, memories and friends, helps a dreary night go by. We're in Hinckley, six of the best, stupendous, quizzical high. The smiles that we bring are a heritage thing. HDPP, keeping history alive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Where local memories survive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Let's take you back in time. A community affair. We'll take you for a ride. Henson's Cab will take you there. We're making history. HDPP, chat room pauses. History aside. Local pauses. Streaming HDPP live. Betty is our queen bee. The sweetest honey candy. Dangerous Den here again. HDPP live. Hey, you know we keep it HDPP.
Oh, here we go again. Good evening. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Hello, missus. You up in the back? I can see you. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. We're back again, as if just like a bad smell. Here we are again. It's Hinckley District Past and Present, live from Hinckley on this Sunday evening. How are you? Just to find you well. Hope you've had a better week than me. There you having said all that, loads of people in the chat room, as always, because the chat room makes a big part of this broadcast. I don't know what's going to be said in there. They usually do behave, but it makes a big part of the programme. So we'll be featuring that. You can see the chat if you're watching on YouTube. You can see the chat appearing there. We used to put it on the screen, but then we found I don't think we need to do that anymore. So there we go. No matter where you're viewing from, be it Hinckley, Burbage, Nuneaton, wherever, even as far afield as the United States or wherever you may be. It's great to have you with us this evening. Annabelle Mann was the first one with us this evening. Hi, Annabelle. Quickly followed by Anne Hunt. So, Anne, lovely that you're with us as well. And like I say, last week after you made that trek up to come to the disco and then go all the way home again on the same night, you really earned my admiration. You really, really did. Anyway, Russet's here as well. Nice, Russet. Glad that you're back with us as well. And Dave B is with us as well. Now, Dave, he messaged me last week to say last week he got 6 out of 6 on 6 of the best. Unfortunately, it nodded off before the end of the programme, so couldn't claim it proper. That'll teach you to nod off. Well, let's see how you do with 6 of the best this evening. We'll be doing those questions very, very shortly. Hence why I put in the chat room, Dave, make sure you keep awake tonight. Yeah. Jan Kirby's here as well. Hi, Jan. I didn't have a chance to speak to you yesterday in St Mary's Church, by the way. A little bit busy on the scanning session, although we didn't have a lot of pictures yesterday. We had lots of chatting. Gets a lot of that just lately. Queen Bee's with us now. Queen Bee, we're sending our love to you because we know you've got the lurgy now. Probably caught it off us, actually. I'll explain very, very shortly. But we have spoken today, as you know, and you're doing okay. Also, Dangerous Den's here as well. Nice to hear, Dangerous Den. Thank you for the lift yesterday. On scanning days, we call Dennis. I call him Perkins, and he calls me Lord Thornycroft. It's just what we do on that day, you understand. It tickles us. It probably doesn't bother anybody else, but there we go. Jan says we've got a lot of leaves to pick up again after the wind and the rain. Yeah, wasn't it horrible earlier? I was on the wireless earlier on, as you probably know, and I'd seen the forecast. I thought, it's going to be rotten again in a bit, and sure enough, it was. Yes, there we go. Also, Rob Steen says, hello, Rob. Hello, or hola, from Aldacuta in southern Spain. Lovely. I bet the sun's out there. Hope you're going to enjoy the program as well, Robert. I know you're home alone, aren't you? Yeah, I know you're home alone. Good fun can be. But it's how we miss them though, don't we, guys? Come on, let's be honest. When the wives say, all right, okay, some either serious TV, get the sport on or whatever. Then after a while, you think, I'm missing her now. I know when I go out, Sue loves it. It's brilliant. She runs around, fantastic. Anyway, other people in. Oh, Mr. Smuggley's just arrived. Hello, Mr. Smuggley. Nice to know you okay there, John. And Alan Crop. The crops are in. The crops should have been in ages ago. It's late in the season. The farmers have been out in the field getting the crops in, and now they're in. Good. Lovely. And Steve Gardner's in as well. Hi, Steve. And he's watching on the farm, not far from Stoke Golding, you know, there we go. Anyway, that's people in the chat room. As I say, we've had quite a busy week. For those of you that don't know, after the disco, it was a bit of a full-on week for yours truly. On Monday, I was officiating at a funeral. Which I'm delighted to say, if you understand what I mean, everything passed off lovely and all as planned, which was great. It was Monday night that the problems started when one started to feel a bit snivelly, and so did Mrs. G. And we both came down together, unusually, because I don't do colds or anything like that, but we both at the same time did. We had a call on Tuesday from a Mr. Stephen Brooks who informed us he'd got COVID. We did a test. We'd got COVID. So anyway, fair enough, so I had to cancel a couple of little bits, which I got arranged just to be on the safe side. And then lo and behold, today, I'm feeling absolutely fine now, really. Generally speaking, my throat is a little bit, but everything else, it's all working. Everything on the outside, and, but today, because we bought some new testing kits, and we're still positive. I couldn't believe that, and yet we're both feeling okay. Weird. There is no current COVID restrictions, but obviously we have to think of people who are vulnerable. So I've had to rearrange a talk I got on for tomorrow afternoon, because the audience there is very susceptible to such things. Oh, and then there's been other things which I'm not going to bore you with, which I mentioned on the radio this morning. Anyway, it's time in just a few minutes. Let's do 6 of the best first. 6 of the best is what we do on a Sunday night while you're watching the programme, because a lot of the times you've seen some of the stuff we show. So while you sort of got one ear and eye on that, you can be working on 6 of the best, okay? And as always, don't put your answers in the chat room because people will nick them. People will nick them and then pass them off as their own work. We don't want that. So 6 of the best. See how you do with this today. So here comes 6 of the best. And let me just get the music is there or just underneath a little bit. There's your question number 1. Kit Parker, late again. See me afterwards. I want 200 lines. I must not be late on a Sunday evening for the live stream. Honestly. Seeing that they carried her out of the disco last week has got nothing to do with it, I'm sure. Question number 1, 6 of the best. What year was St Mary's Church School built on Station Road? Now, just give you a little bit of a clue there. We've had this question before. One of those dates is correct. And when it was first built, it was actually a Sunday school to start with before the national schools. That building is still there today. But what year was it built? One of them is the correct answer. Quite an easy one if you ask me, Mrs. Right, we move on. I'll try and move on if I can. Let's just press that button. There we go. Right then, question 2. No cheating on this one. It's particularly down at the Boundary Hotel down in Torquay, because this question came up. What is the largest organ of the human body? Now, give it a thought. Give it a thought. And write it down and keep it to yourself. Don't let anybody else see what you've got as an answer for that. What's the largest organ of the human body? There you go. Okay. Question number 3. Now, this, I will tell you, this is easy. I'll just let you get your dashes all out, right? It's a film. That's all I need to say. And I think once you get the first couple of bits, you're away with it. We will repeat this very shortly, so try and get your dashes in the right places, in your commas and your wherever you need to. We'll find the words. It's a film. That's all I shall say at this point. Right, now then, moving on to our next one, I want you to be able to name the pop song that's on the Hammond organ. Are we ready? And I've got to press a button here. Sounds something like this. Groovy, baby. Guess the pop song played on the old Hammond organ. It's easy. I know some of you are singing it now. Want to hear it one more time? And that's all you're going to get, Mrs. Trust me. Write it down, keep it to yourself, don't tell anybody. Here's another general knowledge question tonight. What traditional dish from Northern Ireland, no less, consisting of mashed potatoes, chopped scallions, and cabbage or kale? Actually, it's very nice. I've seen this served. It looks very nice, actually. So what is the traditional dish from Northern Ireland? Now, please try and not use Google A. Yeah. Please try not to use Google, because, I mean, we're having fun here. It's all good fun, isn't it? Tasha, hello, Tasha. She said, me and my mum got that song. I thought you would do. You two are the music experts. Yeah, I can believe it. Absolutely. Right, so there's question 5. And now, the world-famous anagram question. Are you awake, David Blower? Alleyway Nation Trickish is the anagram. If you rearrange that, we'll get a building from the 1860s still standing and serving the town today. Oh, you're thinking 1860s. A building from the 1860s, still standing, serving the town today. Alleyway Nation Trickish. It is quite easy, actually. I've made the questions relatively easy this evening because, well, after the week I've had, I'm thinking, I couldn't be arsed. Let's have some easy ones. I need cheering up because it's been a bit of a pressured week this week. Oh, and it's yet to continue. Right, so there you go. So let's go through the questions one more time. So 6 of the best it is. Question number 1. What year was St Mary's Church School built on Station Road? One of them is the correct answer. Question 2, what is the largest organ of the human body? And it's not the Hammond organ. Just before you start, it's not the Hammond organ. Okay, that's just our music round only. Okay. Question number 3, find the words. Here we are, another chance to get the dashes. Write it down and work on that. It's a film. That's all I shall say. And I've just had a wave of smugness come over me. Something's telling me Mr. Smuggley's already got that. I don't know why. I've just had that feeling. And I haven't got any prompt. Just a guess. Right then. Moving on to our next question, which is guess the pop song on the Hammond organ. And that's all that everybody knows that. Well, I imagine you will know that one anyway. And on to question number 5. What what is a traditional dish from Northern Ireland consisting of mashed potatoes, chopped scallions and cabbage or kale. Incidentally, Rob Steen says our local Irish pub in Burton-upon-Trent used to serve this as a bar food. It's delicious. It looked great when a few years ago when I said, "Oh, that smells nice. That looks good. I can have a bit of that." Yeah, good. Okay, and finally. Off on to number 6, which apparently already Jeff Wallace has cracked it already. Got the anagram. No, that was Mr. Smugly. Yeah, Jeff has got the anagram already. That's how easy it is tonight. Alleyway Nation, Trickish, looking for a building from the 1860s, still standing and serving the town today. John Denny says, well, Kath's got the film. And Kit says, I've got the organ. I love it, you lot. You're all nuts. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, then. Well, we'll be playing 6 of the best. Oh, he's pressed the wrong button. 6 of the best. Come back. Oh, looks like a ghost. We'll be playing that throughout the programme. Okay, then. Annabelle Mann said, I've got quite a few of those, actually, so she's doing quite well. But Russet said, I may know number 4, but I've got brain fog. I can't remember it. Sure you will eventually, Russet, absolutely. Okay then, so things have been going on. A couple of parish notices now concerning the group. Firstly, I've got to click the right button here. Right, social night on Wednesday night. We'll be fit enough to do that, don't worry. And it's our much anticipated talk by Eddie Smallwood, It's Your Funeral. Now, I can already tell you, and I know Dennis will go in the chat room now. Dennis ended up seeing this talk last week as it was presented to Hinckley District Museum. And he said, it really is good. Don't miss it. Okay. So, this Wednesday night, Eddie Smallwood's It's Your Funeral at the Greyhound in Hinckley. Come along, everybody's welcome. Everybody, and we do mean everybody. We'll have that presentation, and then afterwards we're going to have Greg Droch's Ghost Stories, which we often screen. We often screen on this channel round Halloween anyway. All right, so. Come along on Wednesday night. Make it a good fun night as well. Looking forward to that very much indeed on Wednesday. So come along. Why we are, dare I say it, but I have to start now. Can you help us? Because we're appealing for prizes. That not prized. Prizes. I did it earlier. Prizes for our annual Christmas prize draw. If you can help, if you get in touch with us, we'd be very pleased to have that. Now, some people have already given us some things. Thank you, Russet, for another one of your fantastic crochet quilts thing. Brilliant. And we've had one or two other bits. But if you've got something around home, you think, well, that's nice. We don't use it. Let's get rid of it. No husbands or wives accepted, though. We have to have nice prizes as well. So if you can help us, I'll have to redo that because I tapped that up very quickly just before we started this evening. Good. Right. But Rob, thank you. I'm sending you the check. You're doing really well considering you're not well, Paul. That's true dedication, I tell you. Hey, here's a thing, by the way, Alan. The crops are out on Wednesday. They can't make it. This always makes me laugh because we've had our socials on the same night for it's going to be nearly 10 years now, and some people still forget it. What's that all about? It should be the other way round, Alan. Alan, you got it wrong. It should be the other way. Or we can't go because we can't do what you want to do because we have to go to HDPP that night. You're going to miss a great night. That's all I can say. People that miss out on these super nights. And I think Jan's not there either, you see. They all clear off when we get a good speaker. What's up with you? Can't work it out myself. Anyway, right, moving on. Let's have a bit of a break then, shall we? And we'll have one of our films. In fact, while we're sorting out things here and whatnot, I thought tonight it's great to run all our old films again. So here we go. While you're working on 6 of the best, the questions that you haven't got yet, let's sit back and enjoy Greg's the Alice. Let's go up the jet. Come on, let's go up the jet. I like this one.
Where's that going, all? Up the jip me duck with me sen. The reference to Horace's point of destination was the jitty or yard or alleyway. Jitties and alleyways are common features of many towns across the length and breadth of the country. They are known by different names in different parts of the country. Snickleways in York, Ginnells in Harrogate, 10 Feet in Hull, Wines in Scotland, and Courts in nearby Nuneaton. These yards provided passageways and access to the rear of the original timber frame buildings that fronted onto the old streets. These timber frame buildings, remnants of which can still be seen in Hinckley today, were often small farmhouses with a farmyard behind the cottage where farming implements and animals would be kept. Before the enclosure of the fields, the farmhouses were in the town. They'd been built on so-called burgage plots. The land had been divided into long narrow plots for which a fixed rent was paid. The yards and jitties followed the lines of these plots. So to stand or to walk through the yards as they are today is to be transported back in time to medieval Hinckley. Back lanes provided access to the rear, but access was also required from the frontage. Hence, openings between buildings were created. These openings would later provide access to the housing that sprang up as a response to the development of the cottage industry of knitting stockings on frames. These cottages with the frames infilled many of those yards and replaced the old outhouses. This infilling was often known as the shops. As well as the dwelling places, there were stables, cotton sheds, warehouses and workshops. These yards were to be found all over Hinckley in the 19th century. In fact, a survey of maps, censuses and poll books undertaken by the late Fred Warren, who was Deputy Clerk to the Urban District Council, indicate that there were 83 of these yards and jitties dotted here and there and everywhere across the town. Technically speaking, the word jitty was usually the narrow entry to the yard. This might be a covered walkway between buildings of a few feet in length, opening out into a broader yard with buildings set back either side. Sometimes the words yard and jitty have become interchangeable, and the word jitty is often used to refer to the whole yard. The pavements, or causeways, or causes as they were known, were often cobbled or made up of hundreds of smaller stones, known as a petrified kidney pavement. Outside the museum cottages on Lower Bond Street, a small section of such a pavement can still be seen at the very front of the building. Sanitation in the yards was primitive before the late 19th century. Holes were dug for wells, and a midden, a large pit, at the back, took all the household and human waste. They were cleared late at night by the men and the 9 o'clock horses. There were several public pumps in the town topping wells dug in the streets, or having spring water piped into an underground sump. In these confined spaces and dingy conditions, in some places there was little sunlight, which led to a perennial problem with dampness. The yards were often several degrees lower in temperature than the surrounding areas. These yards were dimly lit at night by lamps burning whale oil, and the illumination was of very little use. The houses and cottages themselves were illuminated by candlelight and rushlights. Gas lighting was introduced into the town in 1834. In the 1888 poll book, historian Fred Warren again found that there were 511 houses in all of the yards that he had identified. If the average family was 6, this would be around 3,000 people living cheek by jowl with each other. Families would often have more members than this, of course. To keep law and order, and there was no police force, watchmen would walk through the streets and the yards, calling out the hours. For this service they received 7 shillings a week, and there were several boxes around the town where they could rest. When we look at the old pictures of the yards, we can catch a glimpse of domestic life. Rainwater and runoff was caught in old beer barrels, and then likely reused for other purposes. There were wire washing lines and the ubiquitous mangle, often with a rain cover over it, ready for use on wash day, which could, in many cases, be every day. There was other domestic paraphernalia, such as old bedsteads, used as fencing, buckets and pails, yard brushes for sweeping the causey, tin baths, old prams, old tables, and bits of old bikes. Interior views of the cottages are rare, but one does exist in the museum collection, Fadair's Yard, off Stockwell Head. Very often we see extended window frames with several windows within the frame itself. These are known as the framework knitter's windows, and were created to allow the maximum amount of daylight in by which knitting frames could be worked. Families would often knit through the night in order to earn a little extra to feed and clothe themselves. The photographs that have survived often show buildings which are clearly of different ages adjacent to one another. The pre-1784 brick tax bricks are narrow, and post-tax bricks are much bigger. Timber framing gave way to brick, tile and slate buildings. On many of the photos the houses are in dereliction, with numerous windows broken and window frames rotting away. The great fascination for historians and inquirers alike is that these jitties and yards were often called names to distinguish them. Some of the names related to the landowner. So there is a long list of yards and jitties across the town with titles such as Flavel's Yard, Ireson's Yard, Lord's Yard, Bloxham's Yard, Porter's Yard, Holland's Yard, Warren's Yard, or Truslove's Yard. Some of these yards have survived, such as Lily's Yard between Castle Street and Stockwell Head, and Blockley's Yard between Trinity Lane and Regent Street. Some names were taken from their mere location. Chapel Yard, for instance, was the yard connecting Castle Street and Stockwell Head, which ran against the wall of the old Wesleyan chapel. Baptist Walk connected Stockwell Head and Hollier's Walk, passing the Baptist Chapel of 1805. Church Walk ran parallel between Castle Street and St Mary's Church, the proximity of which it took as its name. Old Workhouse Yard was on the site of the present Concordia Theatre Complex, and in earlier years had been known by the name Paw's Place. Some of the jitties and yards that were behind or adjacent to the many public houses that existed in the town took the name of the hostelry. So we can find 3 Tons Yard, Ram Yard, Queen's Head Yard, Half Moon Yard, Blue Boar Yard, Royal Oak Yard and Blue Bell Yard, and these are all examples of this type of yard. 2 have survived. King's Head Yard at the top of Castle Street, and a little further up, the Crown and Anchor Yard. Sometimes the names could sound grandiose, such as Crown Court, Rolls Court, Waterloo Square, Crown Terrace and Harold Square. In reality, the grandness was merely in the name. Waterloo Square was also known as the Cork Hole, and was reckoned as one of the worst slums in Hinckley, although that was not a difficult title to earn. The names behind other yards and jitties defy investigation into their origins. Cuckoo's Alley could be a derivation of Cuckold's Alley, but Cox's Abbey, Packman's Puzzle and the Salt Box are as baffling now as they must have been to people years ago. 5 foot and 10 foot may well have actually related to the width of the yard. Some of the jitties and yards were names that related to working premises, such as Chandler's Yard, a chandler being a maker of candles, or Tan Yard for the leather trade, and Rope Walk with its obvious connections. These were less common, and where the trade could also be a surname, such as Chandler, the origin is difficult to define. With the jitties and yards being considered by council inspectors as overcrowded and insanitary, it was not surprising that the council embarked on a slum clearance programme under the Housing Act of 1930. Efforts to move people out of these slums and into newer housing began in 1931. Each slum was photographed, and fortunately these photographs have survived in the museum collection. In the year of 1931, it was concluded that there were 272 houses unfit for human habitation. The first unfit houses to go were those in White Lion Yard and Fox Yard in Lower Bond Street, adjacent to the current museum cottages. Some of the houses in those 2 yards were dated as being 300 years old. In succeeding years, there were annual programmes of scheduled clearances and compulsory purchase orders. The council did make some houses fit for purpose at a reasonable cost. Sometimes private landlords would let their tenants modernise their properties. Thus, my own parents, Henrik and Doreen Droach, modernised number 16 Mill View, installing electricity, carpets and Formica worktops. They still needed to purchase a cat to catch the mice. This was after the Second World War, and the clearances of houses and cottages continued well into the mid-1950s. Back in the 30s, by 1936, the council had had to rehouse 1,347 people from the jitties and yards to housing estates on Rugby Road, the Jericho Farm Estate and the Middlefield Estate. Out of Hinckley's jitties and yards have come several notable figures. For instance, Cross Keys Yard in Upper Castle Street was the childhood home of Nat Langham, born in 1820, whose tortured childhood in the town is well documented, but he rose to be a pugilistic boxer of bare-knuckle fame and was considered the middleweight champion of all England. Golden Fleece Yard, later known as Davenport's Yard, was the home of the evangelistic strict Baptist preacher William Gadsby. He was originally from Attleborough, but married a Hinckley girl, Jane Marvin, and lived in that yard from 1796 until 1805. His preaching exploits took him to Manchester, where he eventually settled and built chapels and chapel communities, wrote hymns and sermons. He was known as the Apostle of the North. From Tan Yard, which was on Druid Street, emanated the Labour activist and leader Jabez Chaplin, born in 1860, who was a member of the Independent Labour Party and was made Lord Mayor of Leicester in 1919 and 1920. Baines Lane, or previously Pentis Place, was the home of John Sketchley, born in 1823, a radical social reformer, champion of the working classes, an atheist and a Republican writer of political pamphlets. Brooks Yard was the childhood home of John Boltby Brooks, born in 1846, the creator of the sprung cycle saddle. It is tempting to be drawn into a rosy-coloured view of the jitties and yards, One has to remember that the cottages in the yards, however, house some of the most poverty-stricken families in the town. In 1843, a letter to a national newspaper, the Morning Chronicle, said about Hinckley, "Eye hath not seen, nor ear hath not heard, and the heart cannot conceive the half of the suffering endured by the poverty-stricken people. Living conditions could be squalid, prone for the rapid spread of disease, consumption, typhoid and scarlet fever. From evidence presented to an inquiry into the state of the hosiery trade in 1844, the inhabitants of the Jitters and Yards were described as pale, undersized, and having poor eyesight. The pawnbrokers in the town did brisk business each week and were hated for it. In such poverty, the young girls were forced into prostitution, and it is estimated in the 1840s that 1 baby in 8 in Hinckley was illegitimate. With vice went criminality, and the Jitters and Yards were home to local criminals who were well known. One such rabble-rouser was the so-called Black Margaret, a woman of violent temper and intemperate habits. The newspaper columns, in their court reports, regularly recorded her misdemeanours. It would not be too fanciful to imagine groups of urchins, like an Artful Dodger or an Oliver Twist, frequenting the Yards and Jitters. Indeed, part of the Nat Langham story is that he was one such urchin. Stealing a hot potato one day from a seller on the market, he was caught and had a hot potato stuffed into his mouth. He lived the rest of his life with a physical impairment to his mouth and a pronounced lisp. The advent of the Heritage Action Zone, launched in September 2020, creates an opportunity to bring out and enhance the character of the yards that are left in the central area of the town. Inward investment in our remaining Jitters and Yards could make them a more prominent feature of the town and part of the unique offer of wonderful historic Hinckley.
Thanks, Greg. Just got to play this piano music out now. And let's do it again. I ain't played this for ages, actually. There. See? Tricked you. I love playing. Lovely! I've finished it. It's back on time. I haven't used my keyboard for ages. Great to have a little go there. Oh, my fingers. Oh, right. Thanks, Greg. Our production of Up the Jit. Available on DVD, as you all know by now, available at Jasper's in Hinckley. It's called Wonderful Historic Hinckley. Has 3 titles on. One of that name, one called Sporting Excellence, and one called Up the Jit. All on one DVD, with all proceeds going to our local good causes. Right, good. Excellent. How are we all doing with 6 of the best? I think there's going to be some 6s tonight. I do. Oh, very late into the classroom this evening is Gary Betterley. He was always late at school when I was there with him too. Hello, yeah. Nice to see you there then, Gary. Good. Russet said, that's very interesting, Greg. Absolutely. We love Greg's features that we've done together. And once again, I like just rerunning these films because I never get fed up of them. I always find them fascinating. Hello, Carol Saccone. I keep forgetting you're back on. Hope everyone is well. Right, everybody say hello to Carol in the chat room, please, because Carol in New Orleans, if I remember right, so she's took the time to come and say hello to you from the other side of the world. Come on, say hello to her in the chat room. I think it'd be a splendid thing to do. Lovely. Kath Denny says, I do love hearing about the jitties. Absolutely. They're brilliant. Just wish we'd got more of them, like they do up at Atherstone. They're super up at Atherstone. Really, really are. Okay, 6 of the best it is. We're going to just quickly go over that before we're going to go for our nosy tonight. Yeah, Mr. Nosy, who is not in the chat room from what I can see. So we could do Mr. Nosy turning up. I think he's been quite busy too. So 6 of the best, here we go. Here is question number 1. And what year was St Mary's Church School built on Station Road? Now, Mrs. G and I have been having a conversation about this, but she concludes, yes, Paul, you are correct. And I said, would you mind repeating that? Because I don't normally get that sort of answer from Sue. It's usually me, no, I'm always wrong. But I was correct in this one. Anyway, what was the year St Mary's Church School was built on Station Road? One of them is the correct answer. Okay. Right. Now then, moving on. So, Jane Brown's in as well. Hello, Jane. I didn't see you sneaking. Say hello. Everyone's saying hello to Carol in the chat room at the minute, so please do that. That's really nice. We're a friendly lot here at HDPP. Question number 2. What's the largest organ of the human body? And it's not the Hammond organ, all right? Dennis Perkins says, Paul, you want to get that in writing about Sue saying you're correct. Can I have that in writing? She's got those convenient ears in again now. I didn't hear that. Okay, so what is the largest organ of the human body? That's question 2. Question 3, find the words. I know some people have already got this now. It's a film. And once you get the first one, the rest follows, really. It's a film. See if you can get it. Yeah, I'm saying no more. I don't want to give it all away because it's easy enough as it is. Right. Okay, so I'm watching things in the chat room. It's quite funny at the moment. I'll tell you in a moment. Right then, guess the pop song played on the Hammond organ, which is this. Groovy, baby. Wow. It is a bit easy. I think that's a little bit easy, really. More than a little bit easy. Okay, then. Now then, what is a traditional dish from Northern Ireland? Stop going on Google. What is a traditional dish from Northern Ireland consisting of mashed potatoes, chopped scallions, and cabbage or kale? I wonder if they've got any rapscallions. Just a thought. They might not. You've heard of rapscallions. Anyway, there we go. That is question number 5. And finally, the anagram, which is, I totally admit it, it is easy tonight. It went with the first round out, even before Mr. Smugly got in. But however, well done, but don't give the answer away yet because we don't do the answers until after we've had our nosy this evening. Alleyway Nation Trickish, a building from the 1860s, still standing and serving the town today. Meanwhile, I must just bring your attention over to the chat room at the minute, because first of all, that Russet said Alan, referring to Alan Kropp, because Alan says he was going to put the date of the next disco, that which is the 22nd of March, 2025. I think they got that. 2025, and Alan said, I'll have to see if I'm free. Right. And then he says, it depends what's on at the Concordia Theatre. Well, bless her, Russet, super Russet said, Alan, I can tell you next April the 9th to the 12th is Orpheus in the Underworld. So there won't be a show on much before that because they need so many days to turn over at the Concordia. So, Alan, get out those dancing shoes. We'll be looking forward to that next March. Another 60s, 70s disco night on the cards for the new year. Okay, Dennis Perkins says, I stand a chance of 6 out of 6 tonight. Okay, well done. And Tim Townsend, Tim Townsend said, I got the film. Well done, Tim. Hold it close. There we go. And anyway, and of course, bit with Carol Ciccone being out in New Orleans. So we were asking her whether she gets to vote in the American election. She said, I can't vote. I'm not a USA citizen, which we all know. And you're better off for not being. We like you. We like you. You're a blighty girl. A blighty girl is what you are. Mm-mm. And it's quite funny because Jan's interrogating. Said, but if you could, Carol, who would you choose? My friend has to make that choice. Ooh, we're getting political now. The American election has been going on for years. Aren't you fed up with it? I certainly am. It just goes on. We think our elections are bad enough. Been going on for years and years and years. Anyway. Jan Kirby then said, Alan, I think you'll be getting ready to go to Skegness golfing in March. Don't encourage him. Honestly. It's getting a bit rowdy in that chat room now. Okay, it's time for our feature, and otherwise known as a noser. Now, for those of you that don't know, Steve Picker. We discovered Steve on YouTube. And we've made him into a global superstar, basically, by featuring a lot of his videos from his channel, Let's Explore. And he goes around all old mill sites, old railway cuttings and culverts and stuff. And it's fascinating. And you can tell how much Steve really is passionate about his hobby that he does. Here's one of his new noses. Let's go and find out where he is today.
Hello, hey up and hey diddling. My name is Steve, and once again, it's a great big warm welcome from myself to Let's Explore. Right then, back by popular demand, we've got everybody's favourite tribal elder, Mr. Delighted David.
Good morning,
David,
everyone.
how are diddling, David?
Lovely. Fantastic early morning again.
Excellent, excellent top banana, and a man who's more of a myth and a legend these days, Mr. Steve Follows, aka the Pissed Up Priest, who is neither pissed up or a priest. Don't ask. How are diddling, Stephen?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, nice to be out again.
Top banana, and ain't it a nice morning,
It's
mate?
lovely.
It's
Won't
absolutely
stay like
good.
it till Christmas.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Sunshine all year round. Can you imagine it? Amazing. So before we get into today's video, I just want to thank someone. Lord Beers. Hello, mate, if you're watching. Hello, Rob. Alright then, so you'll often hear me talk about Lord Beers in my videos, especially when it comes to 1840. Well, that's him there, looking all serious like he's posing for a Littlewoods catalogue photo shoot. But, you know, Lord Beers, aka the Earl of Dupe, or aka the Archbishop of Ponytail. But what I do want to make clear is this man is one of the finest running coaches in all of England. Just thought I'd tell you that. You heard it here first. Now, Rob got in touch with me Friday afternoon whilst I was actually looking at the maps following railways and canals. And he said, have you heard of Bramcote Hall in Nottingham? And I said, no, never heard of it. Anyway, he sent me some information over and I actually went on Google, did a bit more further reading, and there was quite a lot online about it. Now, the actual hall itself isn't there no more, but there are traces of parts of its gardens, etc., here and there. And as you can see, we're on this public footpath, which at this point splits. So we're going to have a walk round and see what we can see, because it might be quite interesting, this for you today. Alrighty then, so where we've been sticking us beaks in this week? Well, courtesy of Google Earth, I can show you. So if we head to the English East Midlands city of Nottingham, we'll come to a small settlement known as Bramcote on its western edge. And there it is. Right then, so in the centre of the screen there, you've got this piece of woodland. Hemlock Scout Campsite it's called on here, and it's within there we'll find some very interesting remains of Bramcote Hall. And when I say remains, I'm talking more in terms of its garden infrastructure, because there's some garden terracing, some very arty walls that surrounded the place. Let's get over to the National Library of Scotland side by side maps. Alright then, so the good old National Library of Scotland side by side maps, we love them, don't we? Anyway, here's Bramcote. So when you look at that left hand side image compared to the right hand side, I mean, just look at this, look how the area's changed. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, Nottingham is 2 or 3 miles away from the original village. Anyway, we'll zoom in onto it, onto the actual hall itself. There you go, Bramcote Hall. Now then, all we've got on the right is a clump of trees that has now replaced the actual hall itself. So how do we see if there's anything beneath there? Well, you go onto LiDAR. And bingo, there you go. We've got straight lines and right angles, haven't we? Now they're highlighting what we're looking for today. Some really interesting garden terracing, which must have cost an absolute fortune to build back in the day, and that's before you built your house. So that is indeed what we've come to look for. But before we do, I'll actually tell you a little bit about it. This is Bramcote Hall, and that fantastic wall in front of it is what we're going to go and find today. That is its terrace garden. It's very artistic, very beautiful feature of this former property. But I just want to read you a piece of history off the bramcotehistory.org.uk website. Bramcote Hall was built in the 1860s in a park on the crest of a hill behind the original church. It became the home of Frederick Chatfield Smith, who altered and enlarged it until it became a mansion with 21 bedrooms that could comfortably accommodate his 11 surviving children, together with the staff he retained. And here's the man himself sat at his desk. Now, whether it's a desk in an office in the hall, I really couldn't tell you. But it says here, described as a shrewd, clear-headed, cultivated man, Frederick Chatfield Smith was regarded as the moving spirit in the affairs of his family firm, Smith's Bank. He had retired early from running the Nottingham branch after being injured in a fall down the lift shaft at the bank. He had also been the MP for the Northern Division of Nottinghamshire for nearly 12 years, Deputy Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire and High Sheriff of Nottingham in 1874. In Bramcote, he took over the patronage of the church, served as a church warden and often paid off church debts. He supported the school and held an annual treat in the grounds of the hall for all the children. When Smith died in 1905, his effects were valued at £400,000. His house and freehold estates were left to his widow for her lifetime, but following her death in 1914, the family decided to sell what would appear to have been the greater part of the contents of the house in 1919, and then the hall itself in 1920. Presumably, each of the 3 sons and the daughters who had married were settled in their own homes, and the unmarried daughters could not afford to run such a large house. World War I saw the demise generally of large country houses and the redeployment of those who had worked in service. It was the end of an era. From 1921, Bramcote Hall became a prep school. The school relocated to Gamston in 1965 after the hall was sold to Nottingham University. The university's plans, however, did not come to realisation, and sadly the building was eventually demolished in around about 1968-1969. Anyway, let's go for a nosy.
Bloody hell, there's dogs going bloody mad and all down there. It's like Call of the Wild. So you've got tarmac here. Now this, I assume, is an old road in to the hall, because the hall stood until the 1960s. Now after Smith died in the early 1900s, after it had been in the hands of his family, etc., it then became a prep school. But we'll follow this down anyway and see what we can find. Alright then, so we've walked this public footpath and it's brought us up to this green gate here, where Dave is kindly modelling it for us. Anyway, if we go through here, you've got the road into this place. Curb line there, as you can see, but look at this here. We've got really old stonework. I don't know if this is an old pathway or a ditch, but I love details like that. I mean, you may well be sitting there thinking, yeah, really exciting stuff, mate. At this point, I'm not sure where Dave and Steve are, but I've just been following. I want to follow this wall round before I go any deeper onto the site itself. Oh, sugar. Yeah, it still goes around here. Out. I might be able to walk this bit. Yikes. Oh, get off. Alrighty then. Right, we are indeed Andy Jones in. Amazing, isn't it, nature, how it just takes over and it don't care about anything in its path. It just Oh, fly. Oh dear. Yeah, it doesn't care what it's doing, nature, does it? It'll just go where it wants to go, grow where it wants. I mean, look at all this here. Yeah, I love stuff like this, I really do. Hey, oh, look at this. Hey, that's interesting. Look at that. Ah, you see them two, they went off round the other way, and we've got this here. Bit of an old grate, grid. Maybe there was a drain here or something. Oh, this is when you want your Lord Lover with you, isn't it? Your shovel. Look at that, I really like that. These steps here, I'm not sure. I'll have to use my hands, then I get better. Yeah, it appears to be. What's that? Oh, I don't know, it's not what I thought it was, thankfully. Oh yes, I like that. Ah, right. Look at this.
Have you seen this yet, Steve?
Hey?
Have you seen this yet?
What, this wall?
Yeah.
No, I've just been following another one.
It zigzags all down there.
Zigzags?
Copings.
Yeah, I know, there's some copings in there, buddy. Oh, look at that. I mean, look where we are, Steve.
It's mad, isn't it? It's really good.
It's beautiful, I love this stuff.
Oh, it's amazing what's down there.
I know, I'm going down there now. I've just been Andy Jones in it, in here behind this fallen tree. Look at this wall. Beautiful wall, isn't it? Are we mad? Are we just getting excited over nothing? It's beautiful, that is, isn't it? Look at that. I know if my old mate Chris Sloane's watching, he'll be loving it. He'll be up in his spare room watching this. You know what I mean?
What I do like just there, Steve, looks like the top of the pillar's still there.
He'll be out for this, Steve. He'll make this into some bowls or something.
Oh yeah, he'll come here, Chris will, and cut this up. It'll be on Facebook. It'll become little bowls, sold for £28.68 a pop. You heard it here first. Yeah, really nice this is. So, I mean, look at this here. Fantastic. Really decorative, isn't it? So the house would have stood behind here, you imagine. I'm trying to get my bearings. I've not had loads of time to look into this, to be honest with you, but not since Friday afternoon anyway. Wow, so look at that. That is amazing. It was worth coming here just to see these steps. Amazing. We've got 3 flights of them here. So it's all becoming quite clear now and making sense. So the hall would have been there. Must have been. They're leading up to it, aren't they? And then you've got this beautiful parkland that it would have overlooked. You know, there really is just something about... Oh, yeah.
You saw it, so you've got this, it's all complete.
Oh yeah, we're getting in there. I'll get in there.
I think the priest is about there. The priest is nearly there.
That's really nice. That's really something. But I mean, look at this. That's amazing. There's just something about coming across stuff like this, you know, where everything's overgrown in woodland. It's, I don't know, it's just something magical. I can't think of anything better to describe it with. We need to get through this undergrowth here. Right, this is actually much better and easier than it looks, for a change. Look at that. Oh, I've got to get closer to it. Right, look at that. Look at decorative. Ain't that pretty? I've got a feeling there's going to be more to see than this. Right then, David.
It's not this, but I'm just saying, it looks like the Incas have built this.
Yeah, it does look like the Incas have been here. Look at that. That's really nice. I love that. Look at this here. Look at this here. Right, what you want to show me, David? Oh, it's dispersed everywhere, isn't it? It's everywhere. It's all over the ocker.
Look at this.
Ah, now that's what I seen online. I seen pictures of that. Look at this. Do you know what this reminds me of? You ever seen like...
Tomb Raider.
Well, yeah, but you ever seen them do expeditions into the Indian jungle, you know, in India?
Yeah.
And all them old temples and that.
With a stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all overgrown. It looks like that, doesn't it?
That's amazing, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Now Bramcote, where we are today, it would have been a very small settlement, as you can see now on the 1880s map. And you know, yes, the big smoke of Nottingham and all the industry of Nottingham was only a few short miles away, but this would have been a country retreat for the Smith family. You know, after a hard day in the city of Nottingham banking, you know, he could have come home here and had fine, far-reaching views, which we can't really see now because it's all overgrown. But get your torch out, Steve. Just found something a bit interesting. Just found something interesting, me lad. Right, so there's this fantastic boundary wall there, with yet more decorative stone and brickwork. And then, if we pan round here,
And it's all that way.
look at that. Now that is quite interesting, isn't it? What it is, I ain't got a Scooby-Doo. How far does it go? Not very far. Now, there are steps there. Just have a little crawl in here. Yeah, so they don't go far at all. It's literally under the stairs. I don't know what this is. It's really old though. Really, really old.
And that's how you lose your phone.
Ah. Right, so that's it for actually looking at the hall. But on his way in, what I didn't show you was the remains of a church tower just down the road here. So that's what we're going to go and take you to see now, because that was another one of the little nuggets that Rob, Lord Beers, aka the Earl of Jupe, were telling me about. So we'll go and have a look at this because it's quite interesting. It's just the tower that's left. So we'll go and have a look. I did enjoy what we found in there though.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating.
Although there weren't loads to see, there's a good bit of history with it, you know, with the old photographs as well.
Yeah.
Alright then, so just before we show you this fantastic church tower just behind the camera here, what I didn't really point out to you at the start of the video was this. So these are the original gate posts, you imagine, for the hall. And you've got a blue plaque here, look, for Frederick Chatfield Smith, MP, 1823 to 1905. Smith's Bank, South Parade, Nottingham, lived at Bramcote Hall, demolished 1969. But this is, do you know what? This is a bit bizarre here actually. We've got this.
Looking at this there, Steve, we've got some steps down that side and some steps down that side.
Yeah, you can see the shadow, can't you?
Yeah, you can see the shadow.
So you've got this doorway here, look. Now the church tower is just behind it there, but just look at this, look. So at first glance you look at it and you think, why stick a door up there like that?
Benchmark.
Oh yeah.
I'm not so sure that that is a benchmark, mate,
Yes, it are.
because they usually have a level line going across what they're pointing to, and there's nothing there, look, there's no evidence. I know, it is interesting, but we think there may have been steps here once, we're not sure, just by the shadow of that. Might be wrong, but at the end of the day, why stick a doorway up there like that? Anyway, so we're gonna have a look at this church tower just behind here. Right, so let's have a look at this beautiful old church tower then. Beautiful that, isn't it? Of course, you know, the chancel and the nave's gone now. That was demolished in the... In fact, what does it say on this board here? 1862, they were demolished. Now, it's actually known as the sunken church, this is. Now, apparently, it was never sunken, but from a distance, it looked like it was sunk into the ground. I mean, the actual tower doesn't look like it's sunk to me, but this is a 12th or 13th century church. Now, what they did, this wasn't a very big church. Now, you can see that triangular shape in the mortar there? That is where the main body of the building stood, so it came out this way. That would have been an internal door originally, but I mean, you can see it, can't you, look? See that there? So that's where it originally came out by the looks of it. But this church wasn't big enough. Now, you've got to remember, Nottingham and this greater area underwent a massive expansion. A lot of people came in, a lot of new trades, you know, for the lace industry and the manufacture of it, and you know, also coal mining. I mean, this area, there was so much coal mining going off around here as well. So you know, this little church wasn't big enough as a place of worship anymore. But I tell you what, it's fantastic, isn't it, that it's still here? It's very old, as I mentioned, 12th or 13th century this is. And there was, according to form, a wooden structure before this one. Now, I'm not sure if that would have been an Anglo-Saxon structure. Now, Bramcote, I think there was a Saxon settlement here before the Norman conquest. So, but yeah, I like that. Alrighty then, well unfortunately that concludes today's video. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's something a bit different. There was going to be a railway related video this weekend, but after Rob Beers, thank you very much mate as well if you're watching, for putting me onto this place. After he got in touch with me with that, I thought, you know what, I'd got a gig last night and I didn't really want to travel too far this morning, to be honest with you, so we've come here instead. But yeah, interesting. I really enjoyed them walls, the old walled garden, the terraces.
You can't whack it, Rodney.
No, you can't, Del boy, can you?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gents, for coming out anyway.
Pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure. Next weekend's video, you know, if you like railways, we're hoping to go and look at something really interesting next week. I'm not going to say where it is, but it's up north, that's all I'm telling you. But that could be really interesting for us.
Yeah.
Which he reminded me about in the week, because I found it 2 or 3 years ago on old maps, but didn't realise that the world and his wife had made videos there. So now it's my turn to go and have a gander and a gawp at it. Yeah. Anyway, gentlemen, I am absolutely starving.
So
I've not had anything to eat since about 5 o'clock yesterday. So
I ain't had anything to eat since
So
last
let's
day.
make like a tree and leave.
you heard it here first. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll be seeing you next week for another video. Take care of yourselves. What?
I tell you.
Oh, I tell you what, it's £5,500. Bye.
Do you know, I really enjoyed that one. While I was watching it, actually, in last week, 'cause one was feeling a little bit off, so one night, very, very rarely, I actually sat and watched a film. I have to be in the mood to watch a film because I like my documentaries and stuff and whatnot. But I was in the mood for a film, something nice, something to give me a hug type of film. So, you know, nice, feel good, nice and easy. And I ended up watching a children's film that just about sums me up. And it was called The Amazing Mr. Blunden. I've seen it before, but I knew what to expect. And seeing scenes from just in that nosy a moment ago, you know, with the overgrown garden walls and things, put me in mind of the place that were featured in The Amazing Mr. Blunden. And basically, in a nutshell, it was brilliant. And Diana Dawes in that film is fantastic. She plays a real good part. And basically, it's a story about a typical kid's story, really, about two children whose mothers fell on hard times. They moved to the country to look after this particular old rundown estate, and the big manor house is all in tatters and ruins, and they meet two children, which just happen to be ghosts. And the story goes from there. I won't say no more, but it's a great little film. It was made in about 1972, and when it comes on, I like to see it, and I forgot I'd got it recorded. So nice to see. You know when you get those nice films. I'm fed up. See, my argument is personally with TV today. Every program, somebody has to be murdered to make it interesting. Well, that doesn't do me. It doesn't press my buttons. I'm not a Miss Marple fan or anything like that. I'm sure they're all dandy and fine and dandy, but I don't like all that. I like something nice and easy, and that suited me. Anyway, people in the chat room, get off, Gardner. People in the chat room are saying how much they enjoyed that one. Annabelle said, brilliant video as always. Kath said, great nosy, Steve and the lads. What a brilliant nosy, says Jane Brown as well. Nice, different nosy. Awesome. It was a good one, that. So we'll have to see what we can come up with next week here on HDPP Live. So it's now time. It's all time for things to be revealed. It is, of course. Oh, hello. I've just gone 1 year old. Strange. I'll carry on. Yeah, we're going to have the answers to 6 of the best now. So, as always, I will go through each one at a time. Then I will say to you, oh, it's really strange here. Funny sound in my ear. Anyway, so please don't give me the answer to question 4 when we're only on question 1. You understand? That's what we're saying. So, if you are ready for the answers to 6 of the best, here we go. Right, me headphones back now. Lovely. Question number 1. What was St Mary's Church School built on Station Road? One of them is the correct answer. So now I'm inviting you to give me the answer to question 1. Don't give me the answer to question 2 or 3 yet. I don't want none of that. Okay. Wow. Look at this. Here comes and everybody so far coming in with the correct answer of 1854, which is, yes, definitely correct. Anne Hunt, Dennis Perkins, Annabelle, John Denny and Jane, all coming in with the correct answer. Give yourself 1 superb point. So you're on your way to your 6 of the best this evening. Well done. Moving on to question number 2. Now then. Lovely. Moving on now. Here we go. What is the largest organ of the human body? Now, why the answers are coming into this? This question came up at our quiz night at the Boundary Hotel in Torquay a couple of weeks ago. Caused quite a stir, did this. It was quite funny. So, let's see if anybody's going to get it right so far. And in come the correct answers from Jane Brown, Annabelle Mann, John Denny, Jan Kirby, Anne Hunt, and Dennis Perkins. They all say the largest organ in the human body is skin. Well, you're not going to like this. You're absolutely right. Well done. Another point to get you on your way to 6 of the best. Yes, the skin is the largest organ of the human body. Right, moving on then. On to our film. Find the words to this film. And I'm sure, once again, that a lot of you are going to get this right tonight. Let me just see what happens in the chat room as we... I don't think I've actually seen this film, but it rolls off... It's one of those, it rolls off the tongue type. Right, okay. First people in with the correct answers are Jane Brown again, Jan Kirby, which makes a change. Jan's got it right. Well done, Jan. John Denny and Dennis Perkins, all coming in with the correct answer of planes, trains... and automobiles, and Anne Hunt just gets in there as well. Just stop it, Jan. See, Jan is answering the next question. We're not doing that yet. Wait till we move on. Naughty girl. Right. Next question. Right, now, Jan, you can do it now. What is this pop song on the Hammond organ? Well, there we go. Right, and Jan Kirby comes in with the correct answer far too early, along with Jane Brown, Dennis Perkins, John Denny, and Annabelle Mann with, Annabelle Mann, you see, she's nicked that from Jan because Jan, you were too soon. Anyway, the correct answer is Summer Nights. Yeah, from, of course, the film Goodies. That is the correct answer. Yeah. Anyway, yes, Russ, it's also saying, Annabelle, she likes the answer to number 3, because she hypes, armies, and autorias. Very clever how you rearrange those words using the same letters. Well done. Okay, moving on to question number 5. What is a traditional dish from Northern Ireland consisting of mashed potatoes, chopped scallions, cabbage or kale? I'm assuming, Jan, that's your answer, in which case you are wrong. That'll teach you to try and get your answer in too soon. Let's see, right. Oh, John Denny. Oh dear. Well, do you know what that means? That means I've got to do the old, I I used to have it in here somewhere. Where's the old... I haven't got the sound effect ready for that. Right. For those of you that have just answered that question, Dennis Perkins, Jane Brown, John Denny, Russet Knight, they're gone for Colcannon. It's incorrect. What can I say? Because Mrs. G said, I know what that is, and she was quite right. The correct answer, a traditional dish from Northern Ireland consisting of mashed potatoes, chopped scallions, cabbage or kale, which tells me that some of you you've been on that Google lane. You don't believe everything it tells you. It is called chump. Chump. That's the answer to question 5. Chump. There we go. Now, we'll better move on. My microphone's playing silly devils at the minute. I don't know why, but you can still hear me, I gather. But I don't know why. All of a sudden, there we go. I think that's helped a little bit. We'll crank it a bit there. All a bit strange, Right, so the answer was chump. Yeah, absolutely. On to question number 6. We have an anagram question. And the Alleyway Nation, trickish. If you rearrange that, you'll find a building from the 1860s still standing and serving in town today. And the answers coming into that correctly are from Jan Kirby, Dave B, Dennis Perkins, all saying Hinckley Railway Station. Wow, Hinckley Railway Station. That is that's the answer. Apparently. Okay, yes it is. John Denny coming in with the correct answer as well. It's time for you to total up your scores, because all of a sudden that Irish one really knocked you, because I thought a lot of you on for 6 of the best. No, not all of you are going to get 6 of the best now tonight. Some of you are certainly going to get 5s. So let's have your answers, please. That's what I want to hear. Your answers, please, as in your totals. How many have you got? Gutted, said Dennis Perkins, only 5. Anna Crop, 3 for us tonight. Okay, you've only got 3. Okay. 4 for me, says Anne Hunt. Anybody else coming in? Say Dennis, he was on a roll until that last but one caught the people out. Hello, Jeff Wallace. I haven't had a chance to say hello to you this evening. 4 for me and Anna. And Russet says, as usual, zilch. Jane's got 5. Well done, Jane, as well. Annabelle says 2 out of 6 for me, but Ego 7 out of 6. Well, Dave B 3 out of 6. But Dave, you did manage to stay awake this evening. Well done. Well done. Gary Betterley, all-time best for me, and that is a 2. Well, that ain't bad for you, matey, is it? Let's face it. And yeah, John Denny. Here we go. Here comes the disclaimer. Colcannon is very similar to champ, apparently. Not got scallions though. Okay, John, we'll take that. But as I say, it was champ that we were looking for as your answer today. Anne says I'm rubbish at the Anneogrammy. I know. John Denny puts in his 5. Okay then, John. And Tasha says, I only got 1 personally. Well, listen. 1 is better than none, I can tell you. And, yes, Jan Kirby said, 5 for me. They called it Colcannon when I was in Ireland. It's champ when you're in England. That's all. Listen, it's an education, isn't it? And like I say, I'm struggling with my microphone. All of a sudden, it's playing silly devil. I'm getting real funny sounds in my ear hole. So I think at that point, now is a good time to say thank you for tuning our way tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. Lovely to have Carol from New Orleans to join us again. And that hopefully you'll join us next week for more of HDPP Live. We'll have another local feature. We'll have a nosy. I've even got some footage of a recent pub crawl. Filmed by somebody who goes around, can you have a good night in wherever? And he featured Hinckley. We came out pretty well. We'll feature that in the coming weeks as well. Hope you can be around for that. Anyway, with all that said, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week, round about the same time. Until then, take care. Keep it HDPP, keep it live. Oh, and see you Wednesday, unless your name is Alan Crop. Till then, take care. Ta-da. Oh, hello. Fun and games here. I know you can hear me okay, so I've just been getting some weird sounds in my headphones, but I can carry on because he's an old pro, you know. Those of you that know to hang on for just one or two little dad jokes, which I always like to throw in at the end of these, and you've heard them before. But they're always worth it again, isn't they? Say, oh, hello, people. Oh, and a lovely message from Jane Brown saying, thank you, Paul. Hope you feel better soon. I'm feeling okay, to be totally honest, but just say testing positive for COVID and still testing positive. And I want to send best wishes to Jan Kirby, who's messaged me and just said, Mike's just tested. He's got COVID too. I'm about to test myself. Yeah, I think you can have it without really knowing. There isn't any restrictions, by the way. Obviously, the best thing to do is just avoid going out into vulnerable people crowds, if you understand what I mean. Oh, hello again, Russet. Right. Oh, hello, Kath. Yeah, right. Are we ready? You've heard these before. We're going to do them again because, well, why not? Indeed. People who use selfie sticks really need to have a good long look at themselves. Like that one. Thank you. What do you call a snake wearing a hard hat? A boa constrictor. I played our wedding video backward yesterday. It really cheered me up to see how I take the ring off my wife's finger, get out of the church and go drinking with my best mates. I love that one. Two more. I used to have a job at a calendar factory, but I got the sack because I took a couple of days off. And finally, I tried to remarry my ex-wife, but she figured out I was only after my money. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.